welcome to Cooking with Courtney. Today we're going to do sugar cookies. These are my favorite sugar cookies ever. The recipe is actually called the world's best sugar cookie, and it really is. I get compliments on it all the time, so I'm going to share it with you. So our first step is to add butter and oil, and I always use salted butter. I just think it makes it taste better. Even if it asks for unsalted, I always use salted. The little salt that's added is really, really good. So this is softened at room temperature. So I'm going to put half a cup or one stick in my mixer. Then I'm going to add a half a cup of oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, any one of those would work. Half a cup of regular sugar, granulated, and half a cup of powdered sugar. Okay, I'm going to mix those together first. This is called creaming together. You cream butter and oil, or butter, whatever your fat is, with your sugars, and that's called creaming. So I'm going to attach my paddle. You can do this by hand, of course, but I really like my stand-up mixer. Okay, I've added my egg, and now I'm going to add my flavorings. The recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I like to use really good Mexican vanilla, but you can use any vanilla that you have, but the Mexican vanilla really makes a difference. So I'm going to add a teaspoon of that, and then what makes the world's best sugar cookies even better is almond. I love it. So I'm going to add a fourth a teaspoon of almond extract as well. So it calls for 2.5 cups of flour, so I'm going to put, this is my half a cup here, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to add some of my other dry ingredients, my leaveners, and my salt. I've got half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. Baking soda is a leavener, makes them puffy, and the cream of tartar is also a leavener, but it keeps them light in color, which we want sugar cookies to be light, so we use cream of tartar. And that, I'm going to sift this out. That gets it all mixed together, because sometimes you have to mix, it says to mix your dry ingredients in a separate bowl, and I don't like to dirty up another bowl. So the sifter makes everything go together. So I'm going to add my last 2 scoops of flour. Sift that in. And mix it all together. Okay, I'm done mixing, and now it's ready to be turned out onto a plate. Kind of form it into a ball. I'm going to cover it with saran wrap, and I'm going to chill it. You can also sneak a taste, because this dough is really good. Okay, my dough's pretty chilled, so I'm going to start rolling out and cutting. These are great for any occasion, so you can use any cookie cutter. Since it's close to Valentine's Day, we're going to do hearts. I like to kind of start with about half of the dough. And get a well-floured surface on the bottom and on the top. If it starts to stick, just add more flour. And we're going to roll out to about maybe 1/4 of an inch or so. You don't want it too thin, but you don't want it like a biscuit or anything too thick, because then they'll blow up in the oven. But you want a nice thick, soft cookie. This is a really fun one for kids to help out with. If it's starting to stick, just grab some of the extra flour and push it under there. It should come off really nicely. You can see my well-worn baking sheets. I preheat my oven to 350 degrees. and I'll bake my cookies for 11 minutes. The recipe says 8 to 12, and I fine-tuned my cookies, my oven, and for me it's 11 minutes exactly. Sometimes if the cookie cutter's a little smaller, I'll do 10 minutes. Okay, we're gonna make the frosting now. And this is the frosting recipe I use for pretty much everything. Cakes, cupcakes, cookies. It's just a really good basic buttercream frosting, and it's kind of an art along with the science. So I just kind of mixed up together until I get the consistency that I want and the flavor that I want. And it's really, really good. Okay, so I'm gonna use powdered sugar, a little bit of butter, and again, really good Mexican vanilla. This is the clear so that it doesn't dilute the color that we're gonna do. And then I like to use water. You can use milk, but water works just as good, and then you don't have to worry about refrigerating it or anything. So we're just gonna use water. I'm gonna do about a couple tablespoons of butter. Let's start with 2 cups of powdered sugar, and we'll see what our consistency is like. Okay, I'm going to do a cap, half a cap of vanilla. I'm going to start on low, because it will go everywhere. And I'm just going to slowly add the water. Just a little bit at a time until it starts getting mixed up. So it's starting to get a little bit creamy, but it's not quite where I want it. It's too thick. To add a little bit more. And the good thing about this is if you add too much water, just add more powdered sugar. Okay, now I'm going to speed it up a bit. Okay, I've added about a half cup more sugar, and then I'm going to add some color. Since we're doing hearts for Valentine's Day, I'm going to make my icing pink. Okay, there we go. That's perfect consistency right there. If it's too thick, it'll slide right off your cookie, and if it's too thin, it'll run all over the place. So just experiment with it. If it doesn't work out the first time, try it again. I don't think anyone's going to complain that you're making extra cookies. Okay, my cookies are baked, and now it's time to frost. I like to use just a regular butter knife. I need one that's a little bit thinner than your normal one. I'm going to get a good knife full of frosting on my cookie, and then you just work out around to the edges. It's all in the wrist. Swirl it out towards the bottom. And then give it a nice little. Let's try one more. You want to make sure your cookie to frosting ratio is correct. Otherwise it just will not taste right. So you don't want too much frosting. I like to do kind of a thin layer because this is a pretty sweet cookie to start with. And then the frosting is just going to add another sweetness. There you go. I like to store these in an airtight container. I put some wax paper in between each layer and then seal the lid. And they're actually a little bit better once they've been in a container for a while because the frosting kind of permeates the cookie and makes it a little bit softer. Adds some moisture. So if they're a little bit crunchy now, tomorrow they'll be perfect. After about 3 days, I'd say they're kind of past their prime. So share them with people, enjoy them, and thanks for watching.
It's a pink color.
It is a pink heart. It's a cookie.
Yeah.
Is it yummy? I baked those for you today.